The cover of the book was a demure black woman, and you could have two people looking at her, and one saying, well, is that the bootlegger's mistress? She doesn't look like a mistress. And the other person can say, yeah, that's the bootlegger's mistress. So it evokes conversation. That's the title. The title does that, and that's why I picked the title, The Bootlegger's Mistress.
Where did the picture actually come from?
The people who did my cover, 1106 Media out of Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to Rhonda and Michelle, who do good work for a lot of independently published authors. They came up with that picture, and I said to myself, that's the bootlegger's mistress. Let's do it. And it's not one of those covers that just blows you off look, that's a great cover. It's a cover that basically speaks to what I have in the book, and that's all I wanted. Some people really like the cover. We got a couple of nominations for awards for that book cover. So I think we did the job.
As you look at the cover, I mean, instantly you're staring right into her face. I mean, there is no question. That's just engaging. It's like, what's this person about? It kind of pulls you in. Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. You take the provocative title, and you have this picture, and you're trying to connect it, and that's what you want. That's what you want people who pull the book off Amazon or off my website or at a bookstore, when they look at it and saying, okay, what is this book all about? And that's what you want to do. You want to spur some provocative feelings.
A lot of the narration was based on writing from a female point of view. Now, that couldn't have been easy.
No. Well, my first 6 books, male point of views, athlete, politician, a businessman, millionaire. This time I wanted to do a bit different because there were a lot of the narration came from my mother's voice. Conversations I had with my mother, conversations I had heard her with other people, and I wanted to kind of be able to speak that way. And the only way I could do it, I couldn't do it from a male point of view. I had to do it as a female. Good friend of mine who was a reporter for many years for the Newark Star-Ledger said to me, Mark, I like what you're doing. She reviewed my book. And I like what you're doing, but when you get to that line, don't even give a thought about crossing it. Get to the line, take a few steps backwards, look at what you did, and then say, that's as far as I'm going to go. See, because as much as you want to depict a woman's pain, and both characters, the main characters, Carrie Lacey and Dicey Kaufman, had a lot of pain, you're never going to know the pain of a woman because you're a man. But you did a good job with it.
Another interesting thing about the book is you kind of move back and forth between present and past seamlessly. And sometimes it would seem that would be hard to follow. Turns out that it's not. Did you have any challenges in organizing that?
Well, as I said to you in the previous question, previous answer, there was a lot of pain in the book. Carrie Lacey saw her siblings and her mother leave them when she was very young, right around the age of 12. She had to stay with her father, who was ailing. He was having a hard time in his life. He was sick, and he was also dealing with Tommy Joe Butler on the possession of the land that both of them thought they owned, and you'll find out at the end of the book who owned the land anyway. But there was a lot of pain in there, and the only way that I could really make sure that people understood the pain going from Carrie to Dicey, and even though they became two different people, the pain still was there. Carrie transferred the pain to Dicey. I couldn't do it by just having the book start in the past, go from the past to the present. There had to be some flashbacks. So Dicey, in her monologue or her soliloquy, saying why she had the pain, she would have to go back to where the pain started and how it really went up during the time that she was becoming an adult. So that's why we had to go flashback, present, flashback, present. And I think that people could follow it easier rather than going from one to the other, and then we have to say, well, what happened? And then have to go back to the book. And people don't like to read like that.
All right, there are method actors, are you a method writer? Did you have to do anything to like methodicize? I'm not an author, that may not be a word, but did you approach it like the character's method acting style?
I told somebody when I wrote my first book, Don't Blink When God Calls. One night I was working on the book, and then I finished the book, and I was watching TV, and I felt that there were some people in the room with me. And I realized it was the characters from my book. And I pointed to each one of them, it was about 8 of them, and I said, "You're not real, you're not real, you're not real," and all the way through them. That's my method of when I begin to write, is I get into character. Understanding, unlike a play where everybody has a set character, unless you're doing a one-person play, you are part of each of those people. So you have to write from their point of view. So is there a method to it? I won't say there's a standard method where I can write it in a textbook and say this is the method you follow, but this will happen. You will become part of that group. So in this book, I was on the property that Hallie Lacey owned that Tommy Joe Butler was trying to steal, but I was a person on the side. But I was right there in that room. So what I'm saying to you is that, yes, it is part of a method, but it's not a method that you could proscribe in a book. You just can't do it. It's up here and it's in your heart.
So, being that you're the writer from the perspective that you started on this book, what did you find to be the most challenging thing as you went?
Well, because the book was so personal to me, being through my mother's eyes, some of the things that she talked to me about, and also through my father's eyes as well, I would have to often pull back off of writing the book, and I would get, and I hate to use this term, but I'll do it for lack of a better one, I would get a little weepy because I would remember the challenges that my mother and father had when I was growing up with my 2 brothers and my sister. And so some of those things were painful, and I just couldn't keep charging ahead, or I forgot what the term is when you're just charging ahead and moving. I had to stop for a minute. I had to pull the reins in, let the horses go to the trough, get a drink, and me just say, whew, and decompress. That was a tough part of it. Another tough part about writing the book is keeping myself from falling into what was going on during the time. I was writing this book when the whole issue of George Floyd and all the aftermath of all that was going on. I also had to realize that there were some things that happened in the book, in my past, for real, that I couldn't let overwhelm the book, nor could I allow the current events to overwhelm my book. My editor, Beth Coleman Warner, shout out to her, Author Connections, she was such a good person because as she was reading the book, she would call me and say, "You're going too far. You're going to a cliff and you're getting ready to fall over. Don't get into the current events that will kill your book, because you've got a good book going from past to present with the flashbacks. Don't allow the current events to take over the book, because then it'll be just another current events book, and there'll be nothing special about it." So that was a tough part in writing the book, those current events and going back to the past of what I knew happened in my past.